Tonight, Oholei Torah proudly presents the Young Visionary Award to Sruli and Toby Richler. Despite their young age, the Richlers are making their mark on the community by raising awareness in the realm of childhood education. The Richlers are joined tonight by many friends and associates. Presenting the award is Rabbi Nosson Blumes, a close friend of the Richlers.
I welcome you, Sruli, to the ranks of Awward Torah. I welcome your family, friends, and many associates. You, the younger light of Anash, are the future of the Moisdes of Lubavitch. And specifically, we at Awward Torah, together with the Board of Directors, welcome you with open arms. Over the course of time, I've gotten to know Sruli with his wife, Toby. I have found something very refreshing, very inspiring, but most of all, very real. I found in them a passion to do good just because. Not for honors, not for personal gain, but for the importance of the actual act of tzedakah and chesed. Sruli, tonight I'm proud to present to you this award, together with your wife, the Young Visionary Award of Awward Torah. If I'll read it for a moment. Presented to Sruli and Toby Richler, Young Visionary Awards for your loyalty, commitment, and the ideals of tzedakah, chesed, and being a living example for others to emulate. 62nd Annual Dinner, Educational Institute, Awward Torah. Sruli, now if you don't mind, I'm giving you the mic.
It's ironic that today is Pesach Sheni because when I applied here 15 years ago, they didn't accept me. I'm just kidding. I actually never applied to Awward Torah. It's not working? I actually never applied to Awward Torah. I never attended Awward Torah. My son doesn't attend Awward Torah. My father didn't go to Awward Torah. My siblings didn't go to Awward Torah. Neither do their kids. So why am I here? I'm here because it takes a village to raise a child. Both my grandfathers were those children. My grandfather on my mother's side, Reuven Rappaport, lived in 3 countries before he was 10 years old: Russia, Eretz Yisrael, and America. His father saw an ad. They were living in Houston, Texas at the time. His father saw an ad in a Jewish newspaper about a new yeshiva opening up at 770 Eastern Parkway and looking for Bachram to enroll. So he sent in a letter, he sent in a response, said, I would love to send my child, I just don't have any money. And the Frierdiker Rebbe sent him back a check for $100 to cover his tuition and travel expenses. The Frierdiker Rebbe was the village, my grandfather was the child. My grandfather on my father's side, Toby Richler, grew up in Montreal. Till the age of 14, attended public school because there was no Jewish education available. He attended like a Talmud Torah after hours, but it wasn't very good education. Until the Frierdiker Rebbe sent 9 shluchim from Shanghai all the way to Montreal. They arrived on a Thursday, and by Sunday morning there was already yeshiva. My grandfather was in the first class. The Frierdiker Rebbe created the village, and my grandfather was that child. We all know that the Alter Rebbe fought Napoleon because he knew that while physically the Jews would do well, but spiritually they wouldn't if there was no oppression. And that's the way it was for a few hundred years. Chassidim gave their lives, had Mesiras Nefesh, fought literally with their lives, ready to jump into fire. They opened up a school, the government closed it down. Opened up a mikveh, they got sent to Siberia. And this call to action passed on from generation to generation for hundreds of years. Even our grandfather's generation, our grandparents' generations, 60 years ago after the Holocaust, when they came to America, they had that call to action because there was no Jewish schools available. So they opened up a little location somewhere, and during recess, the kids would go out probably and sell lemonade just to keep the lights on, to keep the electricity on. And our parents' generation also built on top of that. They needed bigger schools. They need bigger locations. So they built larger buildings and larger schools, and then came our generation. It's the first time, our generation is the first time in hundreds of years that we don't have oppression. We have privilege. It's the first time in hundreds of years that nobody's fighting us to open up a school. And the education and moistus turned into a product or a service. I give you tuition, you give me education, end of transaction. Last Shabbos, somebody asked me in shul, I see you're being honored by all the Torah. I didn't know you're involved. How long have you been involved for? I said about 1.5 years. And they said, how did they get a hold of you? How did they get you involved? Your kids don't go to all the Torah. And I said, who said they got me involved? Maybe I asked them. And he was just shocked. It just didn't click. The question is, why was he shocked? He was shocked because together with the privilege of our generation of living well comes the challenge of apathy and indifference. And this is really the challenge of our generation. For the first time in hundreds of years, nobody's fighting against us. This is not just in Lubavitch, this is everywhere. If you look in Williamsburg, Borough Park, Lakewood, they're all having issues with this. As Lubavitchers, we're lucky because we have one extra level of protection, and that's the Rebbe, that's Chassidus. But if we're not careful, it could happen to us as well. I know I used to look at education that way as a product. I give you tuition, you give me education, and that's the end of the story. Until I had this conversation with somebody, and it was a little bit of a wake-up call. I have a friend who's on shlichus in an out-of-town community. The closest Lubavitch school is about an hour to an hour and a half away from his house. We've always had conversations back and forth about the importance of the little stuff, hat and jacket, or even sneas. We always argued back and forth about where we stand today. So as his kids got older, Lubavitch school is about an hour and a half away. So he sent his kids to the local JCC. So I asked him, what are you going to tell your kids when they grow up that they didn't have a Lubavitch education? And he told me, who said I want my kids to grow up with a Lubavitch education? I just want them to be good Jews in their heart, a shliach. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here today because it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes that child to become the next village. We have to get back that communal sense of responsibility. That's how we're going to fight the apathy. Don't let it fool you. This is the same fight we've been fighting for thousands of years. I saw a letter from the Rebbe that he was saying, today's challenges are like the Chashmonaim fighting the Yevonim. I think it's definitely that, and the challenge is as great as it ever was. By the Yevonim, at least you were able to see who the enemy was. Today it's coming from within. It's coming from within each one of us. And that's a scary place to be. I had a baby last week. Thank you. And I looked at my child, and I said, this is the first generation that we don't have that call to action. It's the first generation that nobody's fighting me. But it made me think that if I don't throw myself into the battle, like our grandparents did, like our great-grandparents did, like our parents did, there will be no Jewish education for my kid in 40 years from now. They're going to go back to the public school system. Today, we're able to survive with Napoleon conditions, but fight with communist conditions. Without having the oppression, we're able to have that fight. Just can you imagine for 1 second if you were able to take the Mesiras Nefesh that your great-grandparents had, literally to go to the mikveh, they risked their lives, and you were able to apply it to today, can you imagine where our maastos would be? They didn't have the luxury back then to say, I'm too lazy, I don't have the time. And to be honest with you, we don't either. We don't either have that luxury. But this is a battle I know that we can win and we are going to win. I know that because we already started winning it. If you look around the room tonight and you see all the young teachers, and you see all the young teachers' faces, these are people who chose to go into education. They chose voluntarily. And like Rabbi Roosevelt said, it's not just 9 to 5, it's 5 to 9 after. They're on the phone, they're preparing for the next class, because it's not only about money, it's about time, it's about energy, it's about ideas, it's about services, whatever you have. If you have time, volunteer it. If you have energy, show up at a meeting. If you have services, offer services. If you have money and you can afford it, give a second tuition. If you're at a Shabbos table and somebody has a negative twist on where we're heading, try to change their mind. Most importantly, give of yourself. There are challenges. There's definitely a lot of challenges out there. But you are the village. It's on us. It's on you to create that communal effect and take it back. If I could just leave off with one call to action, it would be, if I can borrow words from Kennedy, ask not what your maisid could do for you, but what you can do for your maisid. I sincerely hope that next year we'll see 20 people up here, and it won't just be one person getting the Young Visionary Award, it'll be 20 or more.